A suburban family man named John takes a promotional sample of a supposed new health supplement. He has been stressed, and the pill promises vitality. Soon after taking it, he starts feeling an intense, horrifying chemical reaction. He argues with his wife, complaining that he feels a fever burning deep inside his bones. The world warps and spins around him, and he begins to suffer from grotesque hallucinations where his skin appears to stretch and bubble. He races himself to the hospital, screaming for help, but by the time the surgeons prepare the operating room, his internal structure is already dissolving. When they attempt to make the first incision, his entire body liquefies on the operating table. He dies in seconds, his flesh pooling into a steaming chemical sludge that coats the instruments and the floor. This is the chaotic, vile world of the 1993 Australian cult classic, Body Melt. The disaster starts with a pharmaceutical company named Vimuville. They are not selling vitamins, they are conducting a top-secret experiment using a drug designed to chemically dismantle the human body. They are using an entire unsuspecting suburban community as their laboratory, distributing the deadly pills disguised as a health booster. The drug spreads quickly through the neighborhood. We next follow Sal, a gruff local mechanic, who has received his free samples. Sal takes the pills and immediately becomes aggressive and violently addicted. He starts fighting with his coworkers and develops a severe craving for raw meat. As his temper spirals out of control, his body starts the transformation. He begins to feel a horrifying, agonizing pressure building in his throat. His tongue swells to an unnatural, monstrous size, stretching and ripping his esophagus. The chemical reaction is so intense that his throat ruptures and he chokes to death in a torrent of blood and mucus. The escalating deaths finally draw the attention of the local police, Detectives Sam Phillips and Glenn Monroe. They arrive at the scene of John's bizarre demise and are baffled. This is not a normal murder, this is a biological collapse. They soon realize the only common factor in the escalating body count is the remote health clinic and the free pills being distributed across town. The transformations become even more twisted and bizarre. Philip, a young man who consumed a large dose of the drugs for a cheap thrill, starts growing large, pulsating, alien-like pustules across his face and body. Screaming, he locks himself in the bathroom. The drug initiates its final, most horrific stage. Philip's stomach violently erupts, tearing itself open and giving birth to a horde of tiny, segmented, leech-like parasites. The monstrous creatures pour out of his flesh and scatter across the bathroom floor, escaping to continue the horrifying experiment on new hosts. The detectives track the operation back to the hidden clinic, which is located on a desolate farm. They find the main scientist, who is unhinged and obsessed. He gloats, confirming that the pills were meant to accelerate human evolution, but he has failed to control the gruesome melting side effects. The facility is already littered with victims who have been held captive, dissolving in their restraints. In the final confrontation, the detectives attempt to stop the operation, but the remaining test subjects, driven completely insane by the drugs and desperate for more, attack them. Detective Monroe is cornered and viciously killed by one of the mutated subjects, who is transformed into a super-strong, fleshy abomination. Detective Phillips fights on alone, desperately searching for a way to destroy the chemicals. She battles her way through the horrifying facility, dodging the melting flesh and the scattered parasites. She manages to destroy the remaining chemical supply and sets the entire lab on fire, eliminating the crazed scientist and the core of the operation in a massive inferno. Detective Phillips is the only survivor, escaping the carnage and the collapse of the burning clinic. However, the film ends with the terrifying knowledge that the pills, the spores, and the parasitic offspring have already spread far beyond the small suburban town. The pharmaceutical company's lethal experiment is now loose in the world, waiting to transform the global population into a melting, chaotic nightmare.